Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone in the room and in front of your screens. I'd like to invite you to the annual conference of CD Projekt. The presentation will be moderated by me, Adam Kiciński, together with me, Piotr Lubowicz, who's going to talk to you about the financials last year. And the agenda is as follows. First, I'd like to analyze the sales of the Witchers over the past decades. I'd like to show you a certain phenomenon that we are terribly proud of. And then Piotr will talk about the results. And finally, GOG, Galaxy, and Gwent. A small update about Gwent. And then we encourage you to ask questions. We'll be available so long as possible and we'll try to answer all your questions. Now, what you see here is sales of The Witcher 1 revenues of CD Projekt in PLN, not in pieces, its revenues. Well, as you will see, after the premiere period, there was a stabilization in sales. It's hard to talk about a downfall trend. It's rather a stable trend. This phenomenon, in the case of games, is not really a standard. Games usually are sold in the premiere period, then they shrink and disappear. Why is this the case with The Witcher? This is the case with very good games that are based on certain values which are universal and that don't get old. In games, what is the most important for us is the RPG layer. You're playing The Witcher and go through all the adventures. And what's more, you need to realize that The Witcher 1 has been sold for several years now at the price of several dollars, and still it can generate this level of revenues. Let us mention one more thing, very important for the financial results. Costs get depreciated in the period of premiere, and then it's pure profit. So let's look at The Witcher 2. But before I do that, I need to rescale this diagram. So let's look at The Witcher 2. Again, the premiere period, it took 2 years, so the beginning is slightly different, and then stability of sales. Let us take a look at The Witcher 3, and again, I need to rescale the diagram. The same data that you've already seen and you can't really see The Witcher 1. These are those green bars, and The Witcher 3. The first 2 years that hopefully will give us a satisfactory curve. One more thing that is obvious in this slide, we can sell or increase our sale from one game to the other. We develop better games because we can do that. We are more recognizable. So we'd like to stick to this trend. It's a great challenge, but our ambition is that each next game be better than the previous one and sells better than the previous one. We are talking about the big games to play. And you're wondering how much money is behind those 2 yellow bars. The Witcher 3, for a year and a half from the premiere, it generated more than 1 billion zlotys in revenues. And this is what CD Projekt earned on The Witcher 3 for over a year and a half, while the whole series, until the end of last year, was sold in the amount of 25 million pieces. We are very satisfied with that. This is another important milestone in the sales of The Witcher series. We've had more and more fans. The Witchers still sell very well. And now over to Peter, who's going to talk about the financials for last year. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we published the annual report of CD Projekt, which I have the pleasure to present to you. With each financial report, what is the most interesting is the part devoted to products, but also P&L. And these are important figures, so we need to wait a moment. As regards the sales level, in 2016, the group generated almost 600 million revenues in sales, which is a very cool outcome, corresponding to 75% of sales realized in the previous year when we had the premiere of The Witcher 3. And the change of spread of sales, namely distribution of sales, namely increased share of GOG, and the fall of CD Projekt Red did not translate into reduced margin. As you will see, profit on sales vis-à-vis 2015 was 80%, so the margin on sales was even better percentage-wise than the sales itself. Sales was to a large extent realized by means of digital products. In 2016, we issued the second extension pack, Blood and Wine, and this extension pack was distributed digitally, so we had to incur most costs related to promotion and marketing. That's a different story than in the case of The Witcher 3 in 2015, where marketing expenses were incurred by distributors. In 2016, we announced and started promoting and realized a promotional campaign of Gwent, which to a large extent was financed by us, and operating costs, it had impact on operating costs of CD Projekt. When we were launching new projects after the premiere of The Witcher 3, we generally increased the scale of our operations, employment, and this translated to increased costs. Cost in 2016 were more than 100% of costs year on year. Regardless of costs and even covering all of them, the net results and the ratio of the year is analogical as on the revenue level, as 3/4, 75%. The outcome for 2016 accounts for 75% of the outcomes or results for 2015. Net profitability in both years was almost 30%, so it was identical. P&L. The most interesting is the analysis where the results come from and how they were generated. And now we are comparing 2 years, but it doesn't give you a big answer if you compare the premiere year and the year after the premiere. Information on how we develop, how we move forward, can be concluded by comparing premiere of The Witcher 3 with premiere of The Witcher 2. As you will notice, revenues on sale in CD Projekt Red, the revenues in 2016 were 70% of revenues in the period of premiere. Witcher 2 revenues for 2013 corresponded to almost 50% of average revenues in the 2 premiere years when we issued PC version and then Xbox version. So The Witcher 3, as regards of the maintenance of sales, gave us much better outcomes and results than in the case of the previous part of the game. And now profit on sales, the ratio is even better. The Witcher 3 2016 gross profit on sales was 78%, while in the case of The Witcher 2 the ratio of 2013 to 2011 was more than 50%. Operating profits, again, in the case of CD Projekt Red, 3/4 of what happened in the premiere year of The Witcher 3, and in the case of 2013, it was almost 20% of the average of the 2 premiere years. In this period and in the previous period, the outlays that we incurred a year later were quite high vis-à-vis the previous year, because we were trying to do more, we were working on other issues. And as regards net profit, 2016 vis-à-vis 2015, the ratio 75%, that's 3 times higher than in the case of The Witcher 2, when this value was 25% of the average annual premiere result. And as regards GOG, this is also an interesting piece of information. Comparing 2015 with 2016, where in 2015 we had a big impact of The Witcher premiere, it doesn't give you a full picture. It's distorted by the defect of high base. And that's why I'm presenting the results throughout 2 or actually 3 years to show you the leap that GOG made over the past 2 years. Now, premiere of The Witcher, the period of premiere of The Witcher, GOG made a big sales leap in 2016. This leap was maintained, or even we even increased revenues. So effectively, the relationship between revenues 2016 and 2015 was double the value of revenues, 209%. Gross profit on sales. This is a good proportion, less than 200%, and the profitability ratio of sales is shrinking. That's because of the increased share of new and newest products in GOG catalog. That's our strategic goal. So in the case of those products, new and newest products, we have The Witcher and extra extension packs. And here in this case, standard rate of license fees is 30%. So over a long period of time, the more new premier titles will be in GOG's offer, the ratio will strive towards 30%. Now we are 3 percentage points above. Costs of operating activities in GOG.com segment, this is the outcome of our conscious decisions. As you will know, over the past 2 years, GOG made a lot of changes related to incurring expenses. We launched 4 new language versions of the service. Today, GOG is operational in 5 languages, and that's not only related to costs of translating the website. In each language version, we have a local dedicated communication and marketing campaign. We have a package of products translated into those languages. We realize sales in local currencies. We offer technical aid for players, for gamers in this language, which requires development of infrastructure to realize the processes. And throughout the last 2 years, GOG launched and then kept developing GOG Galaxy, which was the foundation of The Witcher 3, and today it's even more a foundation of Gwent, and Adam will talk about this in a moment. And what is the most important that had impact on costs was the share in consortium that worked on Gwent. This consortium from Q2 this year was incurring marketing expenses, its announcement and then communication. We had a roadshow, we participated in many fairs, and the costs are broken down between partners of the consortium proportionally. The first settlement in the consortium took place at the end of 2016 and concerned all costs for the year and revenues. Revenues were appearing from the moment of launch of closed beta of Gwent on the 25th of October 2016. Well, effectively, incurring all the costs which we do believe are expenses that will be recovered in the future, net profit of GOG was almost 5 million zloty. Now, balance sheet at the asset level of the group, 2 changes are important. The first one was a change in value of expenses of R&D work. It was increasing over 2016 by 20 million zloty, reaching more than 62 million zloty. Why? At the end of 2015, the outlays for ongoing research was 28.5 million, including expenses on Gwent, Cyberbank, and extension pack produced until May last year, Blood and Wine, and more than 5 million expenses on already launched products which weren't included in P&L in 2015, namely expenses on The Witcher 3 and the first extension pack, Heart of Stone. Throughout 2016, GOG was incurring expenses related to wind, to technological part, which account for a vast majority of growth on the part of GOG's segment, which was almost 2 million zloty. CD Projekt Red was realizing Cyberpunk Wind and the extension pack until May. It spent 58 million zloty, and together with premiere of the extension pack, its outlays on its development were included in costs, and all outlays historically incurred on generating Blood and Wine extension pack was included in costs of 2016, including the remaining part of expenses at the beginning of the period related to The Witcher 3 and the first extension pack. So like Adam said, when Witcher 1 and 2, Witcher 3 were sold with extra packs, we have an analogous situation. We don't have any expensive that we would be including in costs together with future sales. So future revenues on sales will effectively be the margin for the group. And after all those balance sheet movements, the balance sheet at the end of the period was 62 million zloty. And as regards the remaining part of the balance sheet, the second biggest change that happened in 2016 was increase in value of cash of funds, more than 200 million zloty. At the end of the year, it was almost 600 million zloty of cash and deposits at their disposal. Liabilities, the biggest increase was related to the change of capital, 263 million zloty, and the second big change was the change of remaining liabilities. At the end of 2015, the group included in its balance sheet its prepayments for royalties related to pre-order sales of Blood and Wine extension packs, the single extension pack and as a set. And these amounts, together with the premiere, were effectively our revenue, and they were moved to P&L. At the end of 2016, the value of the remaining liabilities was less than 10 million zlotys. Now, as regards financial flows, at the level of operating activity, net profit was 250 million zlotys, operating flows 260 million zloty after taking all adjustments into account. So what we are doing is absolutely coherent. Namely, the flows generated by the group are close to P&L that we are presenting. And at the level of investment activity this year, we made some changes in the report proposed by the new auditor. At the end of 2015, the group had deposits with a maturity extending 3 months after the balance sheet year, and these deposits were treated as investments and thus were presented as outflows. And they became mature, that came back to us, so they were presented as inflows. And at the end of 2016, we had a balance of longer deposits, 40 million zloty. And as regards flows in 2016, on investment activity, the value of inflows is analogous to outflows, so it doesn't have a big impact. But the value of outlays on realized productions has impact. And this value in cash in 2016 exceeded 55 million zloty. So balance sheet, well, you were able to see what were the changes in the balance sheet. And the balance of flows, 60 million of investments that CD Group made over throughout 2016. Cash flows on financial activity, well, a slightly positive balance, 4.5 million, mainly related to issue of stock related of shares related to motivating program for 2015-16, and the shares were subscribed and paid for by the entitled persons. Total flows more than 203 million zloty, which gives us almost 600 million zloty in cash and deposits at the end of 2016. Now, finally, a slide to sum up, which we keep updating, and we which we keep showing, and we are very proud of it. It shows you that when we realize our strategy, when we do what we want to do, focusing on a limited number of products, trying to do top quality products, and from the moment we became a public company, when the operations of CD Projekt are quoted on the stock exchange and our results are published, year on year, the group has been generating cash or investing it in its projects. The investments are then translated into cash, which and the value of outlays is multiplied. And this process has been happening not only over the past 3 years. The biggest leap was over the past 2 years, but this condition has been accompanying us from 2010. That's it. Thank you for your attention. And Adam, over to you. Thank you very much, Peter. A few words about GOG. I wanted to focus on GOG Galaxy because GOG Galaxy is the future of GOG. Until recently, it was just a website where you could buy games. From the moment of the premiere of Witcher 3, GOG is also GOG Galaxy. That is an app that you can install on your PC, and you can make purchases, install the installed games. There are new functionalities which are constantly added. We now focus on online functionalities related to multiplayer. Make sure that GOG Galaxy is a technological backend that allows you to play. That allows gamers to play all over the world between platforms. GOG Galaxy allows for crossplay. GOG Galaxy is an integral part of Gwent. It is responsible for the network part, and GOG Galaxy is a store with GOG's offer. And we want GOG Galaxy to be implemented for titles of other producers. We keep discussing these things, negotiating new titles with GOG Galaxy appear. So to us, GOG Galaxy is the future of GOG. And soon, GOG Galaxy will leave beta. After 2 years, we decided that GOG Galaxy was so developed that we can quit beta. A big update will be launched with a lot of functionalities, such as, for example, the possibility of saving in cloud. When you play, you know how important it is. And this applies to all games on GOG. Each game on GOG will have this functionality. Customers will have huge possibilities to match things to their needs, and there will be a lot of other functionalities, such as hibernation of the game if you exit it and you use another app for a moment. That's it in terms of GOG. And now several words about Gwent, which was launched at the end of October last year in closed beta. Gwent has been so far operating on 2 platforms, Xbox One and PC. And this weekend, the first technical test will be run on PS4, finally. For 2 or 3 days, a group of people will be playing on PlayStation 4, Gwent, and then we'll be continuing our work on this platform. And in line with the planned public beta for 3 platforms in fall, spring this year. Spring's already there, so you don't have to wait long before you can play without subscribing for Gwent. And now the first data concerning revenues. Gwent has been from the very start a revenue generating project. You can buy decks of cards, and this is the first functionality related to payments. There will be extra game single player campaigns, which will be an important part of Gwent. Now you can only buy cards. We summed up the period of closed beta, and now we know that the greatest results are generated by Gwent in the United States, then followed by Germany, Russia, Poland, and UK. But if you take into account all countries where we have paying customers, then the map would look like that. Quint is a project which is a global project. It has 10 language versions. Two new ones are almost ready, two Chinese versions, and China is an incredibly important market to us. We are just opening our representative office there. We employed people, and we have a wonderful partner. Chinese version takes a lot of efforts. The Chinese market takes a lot of efforts, but we do believe that if we do it well, we can be successful on this incredibly important market. And we are opening a representative office in Japan, also with regard to Gwent. And this year is going to be a Gwent year. And this year we are focusing on communicating Gwent, and then Premiere, and then a whole range of promotional activities and updates related to Gwent. And the first measure, Gwent Challenger, English name, because Gwent Challenger is not localized. It is in English because it's a competition for people who know English, in partnership with ESL. The pool of rewards, $100,000 for top players will be fighting for it, and I encourage you to try it out and to play. And I encourage you to watch it. This is the first step towards sports. We are coming across the needs because we think Gwent is a title which has a sporting potential, and with this tournament we would like to signalize that we are very much interested in sports. That's it as regards today's presentation. Thank you very much, and now you can ask questions. I guess people in front of the screens are irritated because they have loads of questions and can't ask them. Please ask questions because our viewers must be curious of different things. Question. Since you mentioned the Chinese market and Gwent, what about the timeline with regard to the Chinese market, with regard to testing of differences between the global and the Chinese version, and what delay do you forecast as regards the launch on the Chinese market vis-a-vis what you do in the rest of the world? The Chinese version is almost ready. We are in the course of certification of the process related to official registration. The Chinese version is no different than other versions. So Gwent is supposed to be the same all over the world, and not everything is up to us. The process is ongoing and it is going in line with the plan. I don't want to make commitments as to dates, but I hope this year we will be able to say more. And what about your cooperation with the Chinese distributor, publisher? Well, our feelings are very good so far because we've been doing a lot of things that you can't really see because you can't see them, but we keep operating. They visited us last week, and we keep visiting them. They helped us set up the representative office, so the cooperation is really exemplary. You didn't mention cyberpunk. Can you say what is the progress of work? The gaming media said that it's supposed to be in the second half of 2018. Well, as regards the date of premiere, we can't tell you much. As regards the progress of work, Adam, are you with us? Because I would like to ask Adam Wdecki to the stage. Adam is head of CD Projekt Red Studio, and he's game director for Cyberpunk. Progress of work? Well, it's quite advanced. And the biggest team is working on Cyberpunk. It's several hundred people, and it's really good fun for us still. the project is very ambitious, and you are able to see in the presentation how each game is more successful than the previous one. So the ambitions are very voracious. So we would like to devote a lot of attention to cyber, a lot of efforts, and quite some time. So we still need some time for the game to be ready, before the game is ready. It's a new title for us, and it will accompany us for years, so it takes efforts to prepare it properly. The work is ongoing, and it's very intense. So it's not a comfortable situation because we know what it's like. We watch the game, but we can't tell you anything. But this year will belong to Gwent. This year we will be communicating Gwent. Sorry, no mic.
Pytanie jest, czy możemy...
The question was whether we could quote monetization ratios. No, we can't, and we don't want to do this. This is internal data. But if we weren't satisfied with monetization, well, first of all, we wouldn't be showing slides with paying customers. And secondly, we wouldn't be investing in the project. We wouldn't be investing so much effort. The first parameters were by all means satisfactory, but we are aware of the fact that this group is not yet 100% representative, but we are very satisfied today. No mic again.
Nie mówimy, ile kluczy...
We are not saying how many keys we distributed in closed beta. Last year, there was information that it was 1 million, but it was much more.
Tak, tak. Natomiast oczywiście...
Our objective is to make available the game to everyone who subscribes. Not everyone is let in, but we want to give access to all people who register for beta and for Gwent. The number of keys is not equal to the number of gamers. Some people register from several email addresses, some of them registered long time ago, so not everyone who leaves their email address starts gaming.
Momencik, to damy mikrofon.
Proszę mnie poprawić.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this year in Q3 it was more than 20 million of financial remaining or other financial liabilities. Now at the end of the year it's 10 million. So what sort of payments were they? These were some payments from China, among others. Does this mean that a certain milestone have been achieved related to Gwent and you booked it as revenues? You booked the payments as revenues? And secondly, what does this 10 million at the end of the year cover? The answer is positive. Yes, you're right. That's the answer to the first question. And the second question, the spread is 50-50. Liabilities on VAT tax and the other part also Gwent payments. Do I understand you correctly that you booked more than 10 million this year from Gwent? Last year. Well, we are talking about the balance. The balance shrunk by 10 million, and this balance includes VAT and its changes. What about the 140 million in sales costs of the whole group? How much goes to Gwent? Nothing. We haven't started depreciating wind yet because we think that the project is not complete yet, is being tested. So the costs are still increased and they are added to the balance sheet. While as the game is finished and it's fully launched, we will start putting it in P&L, the costs in P&L. As regards costs related to promotion, not production, all marketing costs are allocated directly in results of CD Projekt Red and GOG, which also has its share. What about promotion costs of Gwent? Now we are publishing this information. And the slides with the map revealed that as regards China, you've already booked your revenues. Yes, but China is a big country. In Hong Kong, China, there's no firewall. But China, the Chinese project is still ahead of us. It hasn't been yet launched. One more question concerning Cyberpunk. When will you start the marketing campaign? How long before the premiere? We can't tell you. Well, worth a shot. Concerning wind, we can see something more in segments. In GOG, there is this amount 4,700,000 in product revenues. Please confirm if it's micropayments of wind? Not directly. The amount you're referring to, it's the effect of settlement of consortium last year between GOG and RED. It's not direct value in sales or in revenues of the group from wind. What about the previous question and the change of liabilities, the potential milestones? Were milestones included in those revenues? Milestones from Asia? And the settlement of consortium is impacted by revenues minus costs. For 2016, the costs were higher than revenues, but all revealed revenues are included in this settlement and included partly in those 4.7 or 4.8 million PLN. And the second standard question, 15 million increase in investments. Could you show us a split between the games? We are not quoting that, but 3 times many more people are working on cyber than on Gwent. Is it a targeted number of people that you employed for cyber, or will you increase employment? A mic is off.
Skład zespołu w zależności od potrzeb, więc, ale to jest właściwie 3/4 zespołu, może nawet więcej.
Także na dzień
So as of today, we are quite secured, and let's remember that we want to develop one more game in parallel. It was announced in the strategy, so the team will be growing because Gwent will be serviced, Cyber will be developed, plus one more game. Do I remember correctly that there were supposed to be 300 people on the team, Cyber? We already have that. At the very end, it will be probably more, maybe 400 people. We are not measuring it like that. Yes, let's say 400. The mic is off, sorry.
To są takie działania.
testerzy oczywiście, że
Testers are working. It looks like you're looking some concept artists, employees which are characteristic for the world planning. There are two processes. One, we are building teams, and Cyberpunk team is already complete. It's a process, and we are developing the studio. That is why we have these items on our websites, because quite often there are certain opportunity hires. We are looking for top talents on the market, and that's why we are looking for concept artists. It's really hard to find top and most talented concept artists, and we try to keep extending the team. Well, congratulations on another period of great results. I have a question concerning The Witcher 3. I remember what you said, that the gamers are more important than investors. And looking at different portals where gamers are associated, it seems that gamers require more extensions to The Witcher 3. Are you planning that? The Witcher 3 is a closed project. Thank you. I also congratulate you on great results. And a small, not very, a very sexy question. A year ago, you announced a buyback program, and have you postponed that for later because of the valuation? To us, buyback is an option. Recently, we weren't thinking about this, but when the right time comes, when we take the decision, we will surely inform you. To us, buyback is an option. That's why the parameters, which are unlimited in time, and that's all I can say about buyback. And the second question to Peter. A vast part of this great outcomes involved the exchange rate to dollar. Do you hedge from falls of this currency? Sporadically, yes, but as a rule, currency or exchange rate fluctuations don't have impact on our margin, which, after inclusion of cost of all expenses, is 100% of revenues. So we don't have any high own costs, which through fluctuation of exchange rate could have impact. And we have a comfortable situation. Everything we sell right now is above our cost of generation. And as far as possible, yes, we use forwards, but the strategy we worked out some time ago assumes that if we have any currency inflows on the account, we try to sell as soon as possible to mitigate the risk. We are here because of The Witcher 3. But looking at this room, how many people came, 7 billion capitalization, 10 years of work. Is The Witcher worth closing? 15 years of work. We are not closing it. Gwyn is The Witcher. Well, it's a card game. A card is a big thing, and we have high hopes. So I wouldn't ignore it. Yes, but I can't take a sword and kill another ghoul. So The Witcher ended in some winery, at least in my story. And there was this winery, and he's making wine. But did Loki Balboa end with Rocky 3? These are titles. But The Witcher was designed as a trilogy. And the trilogy cannot have the fourth part, can it? We like this world a lot. We invested 15 years of our lives in it and a lot of money. So we'll think about this. Yes, this is what I was expecting. 7 billion capitalization. That's related to The Witcher and not to card games. We are thinking. We are rational people. Sometimes we have some strange ideas, but we are rational people. We have full rights to games, and they belong to us. We put a lot of money into promotion. The brand is very strong. So you answer yourself. But there are shareholders as well. Yes, but there's communication, and that's the problem that we have talking to you. We have to be very careful when we formulate our messages, because our messages to you, gamers, a lot of you are gamers, and a message to gamers is an element of promotion. So we can't talk about certain things at certain points in time, even though we know them. We can't talk about all of our plans. If you said we would have The Witcher 4, you wouldn't have 7 but 10 billion capitalization. As simple as that. I have two questions. One concerning wind, and if you could talk about or comment on your biggest competitor. It's hard to say who it is apart from Hearthstone. And if you could tell us, when you compare yourselves at all, can you point out to such an entity? And if we were to point out to such an entity without quoting any figures, at this stage of beta version, are you higher or lower when it comes to the percentage of people paying? What are the parameters? Well, yes, more or less, because you won't quote any figures. And as regards the Chinese market, you quoted your macro figures, the number of players and total revenues. The question is, what was the share of the Chinese market in cumulated result? Is it 1%, 2%, 3%? Not even that. The Chinese market is now not visible in our figures because we are not there yet. We are only entering that market. So that's ahead of us. And as regards the first question, well, we do compare ourselves. We always do that. Everyone does that. But publicly, we are not comparing ourselves to anyone. We don't have full data. Data that we have reveals that the parameters that Gwent achieves in closed beta are very satisfactory. This is all I can say, and that's why we focus on it so strongly. And this year is going to be Gwent year. And can you say whether on this level it's higher or lower? We don't have any precise data, but even if we did, we wouldn't tell you. And if possible, can you tell us how many gamers are paying? A vast majority. I don't want to show you these data. We don't want to quote these data at all. If you have no further questions, then thank you very much for your attention, and we see you in 6 months.
Ach, i oczywiście.
And we have some small gifts for you in the form of t-shirts and bags.